Hi everyone, Alistair here from the Marine Conservation Society. Now, I sadly spend most of my time interacting with turtles in this way. I wander around with my wonderful image taken by a good friend of mine, Saeed Rashid, and I talk about this spectacular image. It's a brilliant image, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this image, how it was captured with the photographer himself, Saeed Rashid, and I have spent a lot of time travelling all around the UK and indeed sticking it up on my wall, using this image to talk about exactly that, stopping the plastic tide. Let's turn the tap off. Let's not try and re-engineer our way out of this. Let's just rethink and turn the tap off. I'm going to talk to you a bit about that, and especially some of the technical side and some of the stories behind the image that is oh so important for conservation and the work we do at MCS. So we're going to try and bring in Mr. Saeed. Hi Saeed, how are you?
Hello, very good, thank you. How are you? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you. Now, apologies for the start to this video. I'll explain to the viewers out there. Saeed's been trying to help me do technical things and having one or two problems, but that's the life we lead these days. Saeed, could you tell us a tiny little bit about you? So, I mean, you, as far as I know you, you're a University of Bournemouth lecturer. How come you're ending up taking amazing images like that I run around with and are shown throughout the world? Tell us a bit about that.
So, yeah, I have a day job, like most of us, that helps pay the bills. So I do teach at Bournemouth University, where I teach upon quite a few media courses. So mainly design related things and some basic kind of photography. But my passion for the last 20 years, I dread to think how long I've been diving now. So let's say 20 years, let's leave it there. Okay. Has been scuba diving. I think I did my first dive in Australia on holiday. I did kind of a resort dive, they call a tri dive, and then just went, no, I'm doing this, I'm qualifying straight away. So I went off and did.
Just a quick question on diving, and I would like to talk about this at a later date, maybe more seriously. Is it really, really expensive to do a tri dive, or is it quite accessible for most people?
I think a tri dive is really accessible. You know, talk to your local dive club. You know, go on the internet, just do a quick search for local dive clubs. They'll all be offering tri dives or resort dives, as they call them.
And am I right to say there are two different ways into diving in this country? We have BSAC, BSAC, BSAC and PADI, is that right?
Yeah, there's a few more these days. There's RAID and there's a few others coming up. And you know, I might get shot down by many people saying this, but there's no real difference between them. They all give you a qualification to go diving. So I wouldn't get too het up with who you train with. I won't go into the boringness of all these different people, but they're in essence, they're the same thing. They give you training to be able to go scuba diving.
Okay, so get on Google or whichever search engine you use and go and just look for my local dive club and drop the guys a line. And I know from working at places like Vobster and Raysbury and, you know, London School of Diving or people like that, always really friendly. Get hold of your local dive club, drop them an email, give them a phone call and get diving. So we know that you are been diving for 20 odd years, Saeed.
Yeah.
How come the photography side of things came in, and you are now, I mean, effectively a professional underwater photographer? Where did that come in?
I suppose I've always had an artistic background, so I studied at art school, and I always loved an image. You know, the image for me was much more powerful than words. My academic skills at school were always not particularly very good, and I always loved drawing. I always liked taking pictures, and for me that was much more powerful than the written word. So I've always had a love for it, and I was always the person that had the camera at the party, and I was always the one that was taking the pictures for everybody else. And I think taking a camera underwater was just an extension of that. I just wanted, you know, I started diving, and it's amazing, you know, if you've ever stuck your head under the water with a snorkel and mask, even at the beach here, you know, I live on the sunny south coast in Bournemouth, and I go snorkeling off the beach here and it's sand, but you still see stuff. You see sand eels and hermit crabs and all that kind of stuff. it's amazing. So you can imagine when I stuck my head under the water on the Great Barrier Reef, you know, for the first time, I was just like smacked in the face. It was.
I know David Attenborough, Sir David Attenborough, was interviewed a couple of years ago, and I think it was a question from a young person saying, what is the most amazing thing you've ever seen in all of your years? I mean, he's 94 now, and he's been traveling the world since he was about 20. And I know his great passion is birds of paradise. But when he was asked the question, what is the thing that has most blown your mind, has most impressed you? He said it was exactly just as you said. When I looked underwater on the Great Barrier Reef, that is the single thing that most absolutely took my mind to another place. So it's really nice to sort of hear. Obviously, it had the same effect on you. So coming back to the image, are we able to bring the lovely image up on screen at all?
Yeah, I will. I should look it. Do you know what? I'll put it. With the power of technology, what we can do these days is I can do that. How about I do that?
Look at that. So that's a this is the analog version, and this is the Bournemouth technical lecturer version. So it's a great image. Saeed, when was this? This is an image that I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Let's talk about the image and its capture first. We'll talk afterwards about where it's being used. Where was this taken? Could you tell us some stories about it? And I don't know if it is possible. Are you able to share any other images from this dive, maybe of this actual turtle? Maybe tell us what happened to this turtle.
Okay, let me share my screen. I've got something here. I'll show you. I don't normally show people this, so you are honoured. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the pictures I took at the time. So it's here. Hopefully, can you see that?
I can see that.
Excellent. So I was in Egypt. So I was in the Red Sea, sort of halfway down towards the southern part of Egypt, and it was. I think it was 2017 September. So I was on a trip what they call a liveaboard. So I was kind of staying on a boat for a whole week, and we're doing a lot of diving. And we'd already seen quite a few turtles at this time. Turtles, their numbers seemed to be in good number there, and we'd seen a few of them. But we were diving upon this one reef called Big Gotter, if I remember correctly, is the name of the reef. There's a big, long kind of reef, and we're diving on the wall. And I'd already seen quite a lot of bits and pieces in the water. So there's a shot like here. Can you see there's a piece of plastic there? So there's kind of, the reefs are beautiful. So you can see the reefs are really, really pretty. Lots of soft coral, lots of fish on there.
What sort of depth would this be here, Saeed? What sort of depths are we talking?
This is shallow. My diving these days isn't particularly deep. You can see the surface of the water there. Actually, let me just get all of this rubbish out of the way so you can see it properly. Well, I'm just showing you. I think I asked that question because sometimes people hear about getting into diving and think you need to be training for years and years and years to get deep enough to see anything. You're clearly showing us and telling us that these are the kind of levels you can get to with quite a basic diving qualification. Would that be true to say? Yeah, I would guess this is about 10 to 12 meters.
Okay.
And if they're, when you do your basic qualification, you'll be certified to 18 meters. As an adult. I don't know what a young adult or a child certification lets you get to, but it'll be something similar, I'm guessing. And I don't tend to go beyond that. I'm certified to 40 meters. I occasionally go down that deep, but not that often. But this you can see.
And why is that side? Is it just the more like the more animals?
It's prettier the shallower you are. I can get into the technical physics of it, but in essence, the deeper you go, the colours disappear quicker. So can you see this picture looks really quite blue? That's because as soon as you go in the water, the red light disappears. It gets sucked away by the water. And the deeper you go, until you get to around about 30 meters. But all the light, all the different colors are sucked out, and all you're left with is blue. So you need to be able to bring back color into your pictures. You need to add flashes or strobes or lights. So the shallower you are, the more color there is. There could be more life deeper. I'm not saying because you're shallow there's more life. It could be the reverse. But for me, it's just prettier shallower. It's just nicer.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, you can see a lot of this snorkeling. So if you don't want to get all these heavy weights on and big steel tanks on your back, you can go snorkeling and see all of this stuff. Okay, so there's nothing you couldn't see. So we're kind of going along this kind of reef wall here, gently drifting in the current, and we're seeing things. Actually, I don't know if you can see this here. This is it's really hard to see. It looks like a bag, doesn't it? Can you see that kind of ghost shape there, an upside down U? That is, I'm not sure, you might know the actual name for this, but it's like a colony.
A siphonophore?
Yeah, that's it. It's a colony of animals.
It's a siphonophore, yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually
They recently found one off of, I think off of the Barrier Reef actually in Australia, and there was an Australian scientific dive team out there, and it was something, it was about 100 meters long, 100 meters, not feet, like 80, 100 meters long. And I think it's the longest siphonophore. It's a collection of tiny little animals that aggregate together and form this one ginormous organism. And way longer than any dinosaur, or even way longer than any blue whale or any of the great whales. So incredible creature. And a photograph of one, it looks a bit like a piece of intestine or a bit of colon or something. Yeah,
it looks weird. And I kind of, to be honest, I gave up photographing it because you can see that it's so translucent that it's very, very hard to photograph.
But what's really interesting about this, showing you this particular image, and this is definitely going to be talking to the audience out there, look how much, let's be honest, if we flick between the plastic in the water, and we're going to talk about plastic when we get onto the famous image, how similar that looks for a turtle, especially as we're talking about turtles today. That looks incredibly like, or plastic rather, looks incredibly like a jellyfish or a siphonophore or any of these kind of animals that we see. Wow, that's a great illustration. Thanks for that.
Well, and it literally was, these pictures aren't edited. So these I don't really delete pictures. These are as I saw it. Some of them have been edited for colour. Can you see the colour looks a bit better in that one compared to that one? Sure. That's only because I've edited it a little bit. But I've not deleted any pictures. So so we're seeing bits of plastic, and then we're seeing these guys appearing. So we're also seeing jellyfish in the water. So these guys are out there. Actually, that's a bit of a better picture. You can see that picture there with this guy in there. That was amazing. You can't get the scale. That one was about 3-4 meters long.
Wow.
So
we'll put a link in. I think once we edit the video and things like that, we'll try and find a link to explain a bit about siphonophores. So a bit of a deeper dive into the creatures that we find in the sea. Yeah, carry on, please.
So that's the reef top as well. You can see all it's a really nice, healthy reef here. So it's there's lots of life on it. And then I spot a little hawksbill turtle down below me. And this guy. And what's quite nice about turtles is, as long as you don't chase them, they tend to stick around a bit. And I think with my years of diving, I've learned where turtles will end up going, and they'll always come up to breathe. So they'll always come up to the surface. They don't have gills; they breathe air like you and I. So I kind of hang around, or I might go above in front of them a little bit because I know where they're going to kind of come up closer to the surface. And we'd already seen a lot of jellyfish, so we knew that they were probably feeding on the jellyfish there. So you can see that there's some kind of shots of him getting closer.
And is this the turtle that is in the very famous image that we're going to talk a bit more about in a few minutes?
Yeah, it is.
Wow, well, it's nice to see another image.
Yeah, and there's even a shot here because I kind of went ahead of him and I took this shot. And I remember taking this shot, going, "Oh look, he's looking at that bit of plastic." So at that time, I grabbed that bit of plastic and put it in my jacket after I took that shot. And then he just went away and he was feeding himself freely on some jellyfish. So I was distracted with something else. This sounds really blasé, but I've seen a lot of turtles. And and I
It
wasn't.
does sound blasé.
Yeah, it does sound blasé. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of turtles, and I was kind of. I know their behaviour. I knew who's going to stick around, and I was looking at other things. I was sorting other things out. I was having a word with my buddy, and then I kind of saw him there, and he was kind of looking at this kind of bits and pieces in the water. Let's get some of these pictures. Some of these pictures are a bit boring.
Can I ask a slightly silly question, Saeed?
Yeah.
Can you give us one of those? How big was this actual animal?
So he was probably about that big. Yeah, probably about that. Probably a metre and a half.
Wow, so a full-grown adult, I think they go to about 1.2, 1.4 meters, something like that.
This would have been,
so that's
a full-grown adult.
Full-grown adult.
Full-grown adult.
Okay.
So
wow.
this is actually a different turtle. So this was a male. You can tell this one. If I just flip back to the other one very quickly, it's the shell. So this one's got a lot of algae on its shell, so the shell's quite dirty. So this was a different turtle, and I've got this shot, and I was quite excited by this shot. I thought, oh, this is lovely. And then I turned around to the other turtle that I first photographed. I thought, oh, he's eating a jellyfish right by me. So that's really cool. I'll go and photograph him eating a jellyfish. Oh, that's cool. Look, he's got the jellyfish in his mouth. That's really excellent. Oh, that jellyfish is. Hang on, is that? And then, this is the point where I kind of looked at it, and I wasn't sure if it was a jellyfish or not anymore. And then we get
the turtle struggling at this stage, Saeed? Does it look like it's struggling in any way?
Not really, not at all. It's just kind of.
There's the image.
Yeah, and then just got to that point. There he is, and he wasn't really struggling, and it was kind of around this point, maybe one on, that I suddenly thought, hang on, that's not a jellyfish. That's not really very nice. Let me just go and grab that out of its mouth. And I went to go and grab it out of the mouth. And it felt like he was holding on to it a little bit. So I kind of tried to pull it a bit more, and his mouth opened a tiny bit, but it was kind of stuck. So I did, I wouldn't highly recommend everyone else do this straight away, but I've been around a lot of turtles. I kind of understand. I'm not a biologist, I don't know turtles intimately to be able to understand this, but I kind of understand behaviour a little bit. And he wasn't struggling. He wasn't struggling. Wasn't kind of trying to get away from me or anything else. So I kind of clipped my camera onto myself, make sure it didn't float away, and then kind of grabbed the shell a little bit, and just tried to manoeuvre the bag out of its mouth. And it worked out that its mouth then opened, and I pulled the bag out, and it was at least 6 to 8 inches down its throat. But the turtle did not struggle one little bit. It was kind of like I was giving it a hug to say it was okay, and it just opened its mouth, and out come this big long bag.
Would it be fair to suggest that animal maybe knew you were helping it? I mean, am I gilding the lily there, or do you think? I mean, we've seen lots of evidence of things like dolphins and whales that will come up to divers when they have entanglement from fishing gear or other impediments that shouldn't be in the water, and even I've seen footage of sharks that seem to hang around divers with maybe a large hook in the side of the mouth, as if almost to say they understand that yes, we're a terribly damaging creature, but we can also help. I mean, I'm sure my science colleagues will shoot me down for these comments, but do you think there was a feeling between you and this animal that it knew you were helping it?
Do you know? I don't know. You do hear these stories all the time.
Can't be caused.
Of animals coming in to ask for help. I don't know. I like to think yes, he knew I was trying to help it, but I really don't know. But what was nice is kind of after I did that, he kind of stayed around for a while. And you can see there, I just carried on photographing him. And it was just completely in our faces the whole time.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
that's a great image.
So kind of, if I had scared him away by grabbing him, take his bag away, he wasn't scared.
And I think it's fair to say, with your experience of diving and being around these animals, normally you wouldn't touch. I think that's a thing that we definitely would say at MCS. It's look and don't touch. Take only photographs and leave only the odd footprint in the sand. So you wouldn't normally touch these animals, but I think we can allow ourselves that this particular one animal was saved from the blight of plastic in our oceans.
Yeah,
is it possible? I wondered, are you able to tell us that there'll be people out there watching this? They could be at a business or a school or a photography student. Could you maybe give us a little bit of an idea of the kind of kit? I mean, I'm imagining Blue Planet levels of kit, and you've got £10,000 camera, and you've got lights.
Let me just.
This is what I'm imagining you took to get this image.
So this is what I use. So yeah, it's a bit bigger than your normal. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is the house. At the moment, you can see there's nothing in there. Okay.
Sure.
So inside this beastie, kind of sits your normal kind of professional DSLR camera. So
so digital.
This digital single lens reflex camera. So that kind of goes inside here. And of course, I can put different lenses on here. So with that one, that was a super wide angle lens called a fisheye, which is very appropriate. Okay, it's very, very wide angle lens. So I can put that in there to take that picture.
So that's a camera that would be used terrestrially. That's a camera that you could take out onto the Bournemouth seafront with a lens without the casing and take a photograph, but you put that into the casing and off you go.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
Okay.
So I've got loads of stuff on my desk here. I'm just going to turn my background off so you can actually see this, because it's being hidden by this this picture at the moment. There we go. So this camera, as I said, you're completely right. This would just be a normal terrestrial camera. So I use this camera all the time just to go and take pictures of dogs running on the beach or anything you want with that. But that goes in this really nice waterproof case. And if you see that this waterproof case comes apart, and of course the camera goes inside there. Okay.
Sure. So
it's got loads of little. You can see the workings in there is quite severe. So all these little gears and things. Look, I can talk to you through the window like that. There's all these little gears and things here. Operate all of the different buttons on the back of the camera. Okay, so the engineering of these things is pretty incredible. And I'm sure you'll ask this. It's not something that's necessarily easily affordable. So
yes,
they're not overly expensive. So
how much would be looking to spend to get a half decent, even almost like a small, almost pocket type camera that you could take? Okay, there we go.
So this is old now. This was my first digital underwater camera. So this here is a little Sony kind of point and shoot camera, and it's the same principle. Here's a case, but this time it's plastic, not metal. Okay, a bit cheaper. That can go in there, and this still works. I've still used it. So this goes in there, and it's sealed now, and I can go and take pictures with this.
And would you say that's a good place to start?
Yeah, very good. So you're talking with this, just for the case itself, maybe a couple thousand, and then you've got to buy all the bits on top. This you're talking about a few hundreds will get you sorted with the camera and the case.
For the camera and the case.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still expensive, but absolutely far more affordable. So people could get started.
Yeah, but these days there's loads of action cameras about. you know, I suppose the biggest one that people have is GoPro. So there's loads of GoPros about that, and they've got everything included. You can do video, you can do pictures, you can do all that kind of stuff, and that will give you that's actually probably better than this. This here is quite some years old now, and the new modern action cameras, which are all waterproof, are brilliant. And actually, not that I'm recommending it, but down the beach, if you're in the shallows, your phones kind of work as well these days. You know, all modern phones will work. But you're
so basically what we're saying is we don't need a king's ransom to start underwater photography and get onto this path, and you can get, and I'm sure you can get really good images. Yeah,
well, I don't have my film camera. I wish I kept it. I sold it a long time ago, my entry film camera, and that was similar to this. It was a point and shoot film camera. It was something called a CNC MX10, big yellow beastie with a flash that came off the side. But I remember buying that in duty free when I was on the way back from Australia when I did my first dive. I bought it there because I thought I've got to have it, and I was taking pictures ever since then. So you can start from the basics, and of course when you go up to something like this is getting towards the professional end. You know, of course you can get more expensive than this. You can also get a bit cheaper than this, but a couple £1,000 for that kind of just the box, then that is probably £1,000.
Okay, so pretty serious kit. And talking about professional, are you able to bring up on screen some of the examples of that image where we at MCS with Ocean Outdoors, one of our partners at MCS, some of the image where we see the image being used?
Yeah, I do have those here. Hold on a second. So you guys.
So thanks to Ocean Outdoors for sending these across, so I could send them to Saeed.
So can you see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
A
little bit different to the environment you took it in.
Yeah, very different. I remember when I sent these pictures to you guys, I just said, "Oh, are these any use to you?" And you kind of bit my arm off, really.
We did.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just said yes, please.
And I will say this to the camera, Saeed does this all for free for us, by the way. Not only he is a brilliant and paid professional photographer, but with MCS as a supporter, and he's been a supporter of MCS for years, and just a top guy. And thanks so much. Just a public thanks for letting us have this image that Ocean Outdoors have got up on their billboards. Have we got any more of this series? Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that juxtaposition of that slightly grey, I think, Birmingham day there.
But yeah, you guys
that's
got my hand off for this, and then I heard you were going to use it on this big billboard campaign, which is, as a professional photographer now, I've never had one of my pictures up 40 foot high in the sky. So it was
quite exciting then for you.
Yeah, it's a bit of an honour for me as well, if I'm honest. It was a nice thing to have. So these appeared.
That's great to hear.
These you probably know more than I, but they appeared in London, big cities, Manchester, Birmingham, and
yeah, they were in some really busy pedestrian areas. They've been at the side of major roads and motorways. I think there is absolutely no question. Hundreds of thousands of people have seen this image that you took on that day, that we've looked at today. Yes, with some reasonably expensive equipment on that day. I mean, we are talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have seen this image. I mean, look at that. I mean, just a moment. That juxtaposition of these people getting that message across. Stop the plastic tide. We've got Simon Reeve, who's a lovely guy, brilliant travelogger. I think probably the best travelogger out there for me. I really, really like Simon. He's a top guy. So thanks, Simon. And it's been really important for us at MCS. Ocean Outdoors, I know, absolutely loved this campaign. I think it'll be interesting. Hopefully, some of the guys there at Ocean Outdoors will say hello. We'll see this little video or an edited version of this little video to talk about how it came about and to meet the photographer. I mean, look at that. That's fabulous. Look at those people. And okay, people are going to notice this, and it does get across. We do need to stop the plastic tide. And I think the importance of images in conservation can't really be overstated. These images are so very important. And I would like to say one little thing. I think, oh, that's gorgeous. One of the great things for me about this particular image is I tend to, people like me and Catherine Gemmell and Tara Proud and Kate Whitten and Jules Agate, we go out to schools and to events all around the country. And I think this image, it gets the message across, but it's not too scary. I think it absolutely tells us we must turn this tap off, this plastic tap. But it's an image I can use at a primary school, for example. And I know we haven't really caught up too much lately, which is a shame. We must meet after when we can. I know that when I go out to particularly primary schools and secondary schools as well, this image really gets people. It's an image I can show them. It's not too horrible to see, but it does get the image across. And so I can't thank you enough for the use that MCS have had it off across various campaigns, most importantly Stop the Plastic Tide with Ocean Outdoors supporting us there, of course. And for me and the rest of the public engagement guys out with the community, this image has been an amazing thing and continues to be an amazing thing for us. And just to say a massive thank you to you for meeting us today to talk a bit about it, showing us more images from the series. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. So from me and everyone at MCS, all the guys at Ocean Outdoors, thank you very much, this man. You're absolutely welcome.
Legend. I love working with you guys. I love to see the passion that comes from you, especially you. You're always, anytime we talk to each other, the passion that flows from you is absolutely incredible, and it's like a bit of a drug, really.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. It's shared across the whole of the society, the whole of the charity. We do try hard, and we'll see you guys another time. So thank you, Saeed, and a quick wrap up. So been great to hear from you, Saeed. Maybe we'll hear from you again, maybe a photography masterclass, I don't know. But there is going to be a follow-up with my colleagues, Dr. Peter Richardson and Andy, out in who works out in the Turks and Caicos with our we work with turtles in the UK as well. We do get turtles around the UK, particularly the leatherback. The biggest turtle ever found was found in Wales. So, nearly 3 meters, that animal, coming up after the jellyfish through the late spring and the summer. But we're going to do a follow-up to this session, looking far more closely at turtles, just what they are, and our work out in the Turks and Caicos. So come and join us then. Thanks, Saeed, and see you all another time. Bye.
Bye.